ending of the previous problem of the previous video. So we were talking about if we want to draw the cloud here, maybe we need to, and it's not gonna appear as a cloud like this. It's gonna be more of points in different directions. But we want to maybe set up margins from right and left. And if we assume, let's say, margins of 30 or 50, if we make the width is 600 and the height 600, we can maybe subtract something from the top and try to generate a random number between the two. So the get width and get height gives us the width and height that the frame is receiving, and then we want to set that up within the margins that we have. So if we say maybe I can define integer margin to be, let's say, 30, then I will need to loop through the number of points that I want and create an x and y for that. So for integer I, and maybe I can start from 1 I, or from 0 I equals 0, I less than the number of points, and I plus plus, and I will need to create a random number. So I can say random generator equal new random. Now I probably don't need to create that every time inside the loop, so I can get this outside the loop. And I would create a random number, so integer random equal generator dot next int, and then that next int, and we can use x, or actually this can go directly to be the x random that goes from the 0 and the width, and then maybe add to it the margin, and not the full width minus the margin. And we can do the same for the y random. Called generator dot next int, and this also will be height minus margin plus the margin. So I got the x and y. Let's form the point. So point 2d dot double p equal new point 2d dot double, and we'll start it with x random and y random. This is just to generate different points, and then I need to add this to point cloud dot add, and we'll add the p. Alright, so this adds the cloud in the fill the cloud, and then we draw the cloud here by calling point cloud and draw. At this point, it's time to go and create the application itself, where we would create the frame and add the component to the frame and make the frame visible. So the steps for that: first step is to create a frame object. So we'll say that jframe cloud frame equal, and we can set the title from the constructor of the frame, and we can call it cloud frame. We have to import the frame. Then step 2 is to set the frame properties, and the important one is the size. So we use set size, and we'll set the size to 600 and 600. Then the step 3 the properties, we set the size and then the default close operation. Set default close operation, and then this will be jframe dot exit on close. Then step number 3 is to create the cloud component. But since the cloud component requires having the user setting the number of points, I'm gonna ask the user to give me those number of points. So I will say integer number of points, and I will use JOptionPan. But to use JOptionPan, it returns a string. To convert the string into an integer, I will use the wrapper class. So integer, that's the wrapper class. And I will use the value of method, which takes a string and returns an integer. And the string is going to come from the JOptionPan dot show input dialog. And I will pass to it the message enter number of points. And you will need to import the JOptionPan. So I got the number of points. I can then create the cloud component. So I say cloud component and give it any name, maybe cloud equal new cloud component, and give it, pass to it the number of points. This will call the constructor, and of course I need to import it. It will call this constructor that receives the number of points. So now I created my cloud. I need to add the cloud to the frame. Add component to the frame. So I say cloud frame dot add and add the cloud. Now adding the cloud cloud to the frame will attach them. So when you come here and make the frame visible by calling the setVisible method, what this method will do is it will display the frame, and the frame as a result will call on each one of its components to display itself. So when it calls on the cloud to display itself, the cloud will call the paint component, which will fill the cloud with points and then draw it. So let's go ahead and run that and see if it will work. So it asks you, so I'm gonna start first by 10 points and then see how this will work. So here is the frame and here are the points, and as you can see it's very tiny because I made that radius to be 5 for the oval, but I filled it. Maybe I can make it a little bit more than 5 and make it 10, and then maybe add more points. So go back to the cloud. That was my constant, so maybe make that 10 and then run, and I'm gonna make this 50 this time. So here are the 50 points, and I can run and make them 100. Maybe in the cloud component, maybe I can change the margin to maybe 100. And then make 100 points. And that margin thing doesn't seem to be working. It is still generating a random number that's cutting across the frame. Now if I resize the frame, it is drawing again on top of what it's calling paint component. So what paint component is doing, it's filling the array, and every time it fills the array with 100 extra points. So the array, every time I move the frame, it paints, and every time it paints, it calls paint component, and every time it calls paint component, it calls fill cloud, which fill the cloud with another 100 points. So you can play with that. So all of these points are colored, are black. If we want to make those points come with different colors, then you would think of something to alternate some colors in the cloud, and I will let you think of that. Alright, so that's this example, and if you have any questions, let me know, and I'll see you in class on Thursday.